just so I can put it out later.
Okay.
So what's up, Ed? Anything?
Oh, I'm trying to get some more memory for my computer, not this computer, for the other one. And I want to get solid state, and I want to hook it in internally. And I don't know what the connectors are these days, but apparently it's maybe a small connector, maybe a bigger connector, and memory is so cheap now, you can get a plug-in on your USB. I don't know if that's a good idea though.
It doesn't work as fast as programs. Oops. Where would that come from?
I don't know.
We've got a feedback. Hope it
There
wasn't
should
me.
be, if the computer, you want to put the memory in, there should be an open slot in there with the connector already. You just match that one.
Yeah, I just looked in there and there's kind of a little slot, and then there's a long slot. The long slot looks like it's a memory stick.
Yeah, that's
You know.
probably it.
Yeah.
You're talking about a solid state drive with storage, or are you talking about just RAM memory for the CPU?
Just storage, but solid state storage.
Yeah, it's great to go to SSD drives. They're just the
Yeah,
way to go. Really, your computer starts up right away. It's
This
just like
is-
a
this is a-
tablet.
2 terabyte external drive.
Is
solid
that
state.
heavy or what?
Yeah, no, it's just
Well,
nothing.
Jerry, my first computer was 55 pounds
Listen.
and it had 10 megabytes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? 10
Listen,
megabytes?
when we computerized the lab at UCLA where I was doing graduate work, we had a PDP-11, and
Yes.
we noticed this ad from Plessey in England in the Scientific American magazine, and they offered 128K memory for, I don't know what it was, $1,000 or something. And we thought, this is a lie. There's nothing that big. And we checked the background. They had good reps, so we bought it. We installed it, and it worked.
Oh,
And we
boy.
were just amazed because it 5 times what our PDP-11 had.
Oh, yeah.
I
My
said-
boss got 20 megabytes in his computer, and I thought, he's never going to ever
Yeah.
fill that up.
That's right. I had that in my first Mac at Hughes SBRC. And I thought the way it filled up with documents, I thought this is essentially an infinite storage medium. Now I have individual files, images that are bigger than that.
Yes.
My
Okay.
first computer was a Kim 1 development board, had a total of 1K of memory
Hmm.
and
That
2
much?
kilobytes of monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, technology has progressed.
Yeah, but now, my computer has all these extraneous apps that I don't even want.
Get rid of them.
I want to use it for computing. I don't know if they realize that.
And it's been taken over by commercialism and entertainment. Get rid of them. Just delete them.
Yeah.
You don't need to. Just get a bigger hard drive,
Oh, there you go. See?
bigger memory. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, I bought a 5 terabyte drive. I've got 2 of them. And one of them is almost filled up.
Wow.
So data accumulates quickly.
Yeah, I have 2 8 terabyte drives, and I store the 5 terabytes, almost 5 terabytes, to the cloud for
Wow.
backup. Yeah, using iDrive. Yeah. I think it's worth it. It's like an external hard drive, and
How much
I
do
don't
you
think
pay for all that storage?
it was cheap. I mean, it was like maybe $150 per 8 terabyte drive. The prices have really gone up this last year with the
I haven't.
shortages and things.
I haven't noticed, but you said it was in the cloud. Cloud
Oh
costs.
yeah. I'm paying. I think it's about $70 or $80 a year.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah. I mean, that's like having a new hard drive every year. Something like that.
No, it's better. You know why? Because you've got 3 copies of your data. Okay, and one of them is not in your home that can get burned down or
Hmm.
crushed in an earthquake.
Right. So as long as I remember the password.
Well, then you get to start over.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. I mean, I would not be destroyed if everything got wiped out and start fresh. I mean, it's silly. I store all this stuff. I store all of Jerry's comics and things. You know? So, yeah, I just store it and don't delete anything. Just don't delete anything. You're safe that way. But so let's see. Anybody out there doing any astrophotography?
No, we're working on my backyard. We demolished the backyard patio and structure and lawn, and now we're about to pour a new patio with new paving stones and new plants and a roll-off roof observatory.
Yeah.
So we'll
Good
probably
for you.
about January sometime.
Hopefully the weather will hold for you.
I don't care. It can do everything it wants. But once at the observatory, then it's supposed to be clear from then on.
I've been really
Not been
busy.
anything but clear. I mean, not exactly clear at all lately.
No.
Well, we
Kind of
got,
hazy.
There have been a few isolated good nights here, but the backyard is all torn up, so I didn't do anything.
well, we moved my daughter up here to Rio Vista, so that's been taking up a lot of time and doing that. And I've been trying to get
Does she have a
back-
family?
my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Me and my wife. No, she's not married.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right.
Yeah, she got a new job and a place to live in Rio Vista and in a matter of about 2 or 3 weeks time. So the hardest part is going up the stairs because it's an old duplex. It's one of these houses that were probably built in the 1920s or earlier. And she's on the second story, and the way they put the stairs in, it's one continuous stairway. There's no landing. And so it gets pretty tiring with bad knees after you're moving a lot of stuff up. But another thing I've been doing is trying to get the doggone interferometer working. Been having some issues with that, and I'm not sure why I'm not getting the figures. I might have for all I know, a damaged beam splitter, because the way it was constructed, it popped out and fell on the garage floor. And so hopefully that's not the deal, but I'm not getting the fringes. So
I thought you showed us a good image last week. With you.
that was before it fell out.
Hmm.
And so it could be that something's wrong with the splitter. The laser also has a weird thing. It's got 2 lobes. It's looks like a hamburger bun, and so where the image wants to be placed, it's right in the dark spot. So I'm not sure if I have 2 issues or not. So I emailed the guy and said, this is what I see, so. Well,
How much was that equipment?
It was about $100.
Not too bad.
So
I have
the
same.
laser was about $20-25, but the good thing about it is that the light frequency of the laser is measured, and you need to plug that into the software in order to get it working properly. Otherwise, I guess you get spherical aberration, or you get false spherical aberration. So I just sent him an email to him today. So looked at the videos. Doesn't seem to be any big deal. I've done exactly what he's done. So it could be that I have his laser only shows 1 line. Mine shows 2 lines, and I'm just wondering if that's a that's the issue or not. So we'll find out. So, and the other thing is I'm getting a telescope ready for my gardener. If you remember, I had that telescope that somebody gave me, and it was all shaky. So I've been working on getting the tripod to be a little bit more sturdy, so it's ready to give to him. And part of the reason is, yeah, that's it right there. So I guess I must have spent $147 because I got the whole enchilada. So yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to show that.
Yeah.
So I have
So
the same kit, but I'm farther along. I haven't finished putting it together yet.
what, you got that kit?
Yeah.
Okay. So
One of the brass tubes was out of round. And so I'm going to be cutting another
Oh,
brass tube in
okay.
half to use it.
yeah, so this is, maybe I could, let me go back to my email, my inbox. And let's see here, let me just, okay. Let me just do a share with you guys and show you what the whoops, not that one. Oh, come on. Share screen. Okay, so
Oh yeah, I see your two lines.
2 lines, yeah. So evidently the fact that the lines are kind of like it's a dash instead of a line is not a big deal, but it doesn't I can't seem to get any real decent figure, interference patterns out of it now after the splitter fell on the floor. So let's I'll talk with the guy some more.
Yeah, let us know what he says.
Yeah, he's been pretty responsive. I just sent it today.
Good.
This is obviously something. It's basically a labor of love for him. He's not making any real money off of it, and but hopefully it'll work. And I'm wondering if it's partly due to the fact that I've got such a low focal ratio that's harder to see. I don't know.
So can I ask you a question about the interferometer? What is it? It's supposed to show you a pattern, and do you have a reference pattern that you're trying to match up, or how does that work?
They're using some really interesting mathematics to take a look at the squiggles on that come back, and from that they can give you either the slope or the actual surface contour.
Does that
Yeah.
count for the whole mirror?
It gives you a map of the whole mirror.
Yeah.
And you have to use the right lenses and combination of things to illuminate the whole mirror.
Right.
And he gives you different options depending on your focal ratio, what you want to have
Right.
included in your kit.
Right.
Is there some way to check it? I mean, if you're using a bunch of lenses, how do you know if you're not sending in a distorted wave to begin with?
Well,
Well-
if the wave is distorted, it's not that big a deal because you're interfering with the wave. A distorted wave going to a perfect mirror will come back to you just as distorted. And so it'll show a good pattern. So you're going to measure the difference in distortion between the input wave and the output wave.
Mhm.
And
They have
And then you can compute the surface then.
yeah,
Like
then
if you have
do
a parabola or
use
whatever
the
you have.
software, and it gives you a map of your surface.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty accurate. We're talking, I mean, these guys on the net, they're quibbling about whether each of their interferometers were within like 100th of a wavelength of each other. That's in the mud, you know,
Yeah.
so to speak. But the software is fairly easy to use. I got up and running with it, and it's just a matter of me getting a proper interferogram.
Where'd you guys purchase the bath interferometer?
Online.
Yeah,
Just do a search?
That
Yes,
website I showed,
GR5.
Mike sent me the website.
Yeah,
I've got it. I'll show it again here, just to
yeah.
what it was. Where'd it go? Hello. No, I've lost it. Let me see. Where did I see that? That's bizarre. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me do this. All right. Share screen. Bath interferometer. And right here. There it is. So gr5.org/bath.
Right.
What's GR5 stand for? I
I
wonder.
think that's the name of his business is GR5.
Yeah, probably for George something,
Yeah.
number 5.
Oh,
The
very good.
GR5 store.
Right there, it tells you as short as F 3.7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so dependent upon the focal ratio, you buy certain focal length lenses. And the one I have really spreads it out very well. I built a couple of small things to go with the interferometer to help align the beams a little bit better. It's
You
just
need a
little
computer
screen that
with
fits
this?
in- Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you need software to reduce the data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need a decent camera. You don't necessarily need as good as what he's got, but for short focal ratios, you really have to get the lens really close to the back of the beam splitter. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably experiment with the rotation of the splitter, probably see if I can get any better results out of it.
Okay.
But it's pretty ingenious. What you really need is a good tripod. Make sure it's nice and steady, and get it close. And look at the video about 10 times, like I did. So I have it in, I have it all memorized how to get the interferometer going. What some people have done is they have an optical bench they put it on, which helps. But anyways, one of the things that I noticed, and the reasons why I decided to give my telescope away to my to the gardener, who's actually they're actually pretty savvy guys. And okay, can you see my PowerPoint?
Gender identity of amateur astronomers. US.
Okay, yeah, okay. So one of the things I came across looking at different things was and it kind of explains what we've seen in a lot of clubs is the grain. This was something that was put on the web by Richard Berry, and he was reminiscing about a previous convention that he went to. And basically he said that amateur astronomy is a place that only old white men attend. And so one of the things they came up across was a study done by the American Astronomical Society. And so if you take a look at here, and this is in 2021, you can see that minorities as a whole really don't enjoy the hobby. Only a few. And if you ever went to RTMC, there was a couple. There was actually one African-American guy that won awards for telescopes, but they were pretty underrepresented. And another thing too is, again, from their data, which they say, well, you know, that they went on to say, well, this is our study, other studies may be different. You can see that males predominate the hobby. And there was one other one. Can't find it. Age of the Astronomers. Okay, and this is something that we all kind of know of. It's that, you know, the grain of the hobby. Now, back in the late 80s, I was in the 35 to 44 age. Now I'm back to the left here, the plus 65 age. And so one of the things that I think we need to do as clubs in general, and I know other clubs have been a bit more successful, is to entice people of you know, younger people to keep the hobby going. So that's the.
You know, Mike, as back in the early 60s, when I was a member of the Los Angeles Astronomical Society, that chart that you're showing there of age distribution, that would be just as applicable then as it is now. Because when we filled the Griffith Observatory Planetarium, which was where we held our meetings on Monday night, that was all older white men. And I was in the under 18 or 18 to 24 group there. And a friend of mine was there, and we were pretty much the only one in the youth group. It had that same distribution, or at least it seemed subjectively to my eye.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's because of the type of hobby or the type of person. Maybe it appeals to us older guys that are technical wizards, and now we have time. But well, actually, you know, I was really into the hobby, you know, when I was raising kids and having a job full time. But it still seems to me that I think it's an issue. I think it has, you know, our country needs more technically oriented, or you might say scientifically oriented people, that your job may not be a scientist or an engineer, but being interested in something like astronomy or some other type of hobby where you're studying the world, so to speak, and being cognizant of where you're at is very important.
Well, you know, Elon Musk has done a good job in bringing technology kind of forward and in the news all the time, but hip hop and that sort of stuff seems to dominate, or reality shows on just people living their lives of somewhere crazy.
Well, if
Is-
this is funny, okay, I'm still sharing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's zoom here. Okay, and take a look from under 18. Okay, under 18. Okay. At
That's
18,
Weston
most
Barnwood.
guys get interested in sports and women. Okay, until they get married, settle down, then go, oh, okay, well, I used to have fun doing this hobby or something like that, and then they get more and more
Yeah.
into it. Maybe it's the type of,
And the under 18 group is where their parents got them telescopes for Christmas.
yes, or in my case, I worked with my father making enough money to
Yeah.
buy a telescope, but yeah.
Okay.
But still, it just, this data and the data we've seen before shows, a weak thing about the hobby. And I mean, you have other hobbies like golf or hunting or fishing and stuff like that. I bet you that it's not, the curves are not shaped like
No.
this.
I think the big trend in this age versus 50 years ago or a half century ago is that we didn't have a lot of things to buy that were commercially available. So we had to do the crafts part of making our own stuff and doing it
Yes.
ourselves. And
Yes,
so that has gone away. The mirror making is pretty much, no one's interested in making mirrors anymore to speak of, except us. They want to buy telescopes and drive systems and computers and hook them all together.
well, when you can go get something that
These are
like a
things-
Zumhel or something like that, that's $500. That's
Yeah.
probably as good as any large telescope back in the 60s, that, and it's instant gratification. Now, that might not be the same thing if all of a sudden the value of the dollar goes down and people can't buy the inexpensive optics that we've been enjoying for the last 15, 20 years.
That's only inexpensive to us that are at the ends of our career and we have some money.
Yeah, that's true. That's why
So-
I'm giving that telescope to
Gardner.
to the gardener.
Well, no, the big difference I see is that earlier on, a half century ago, people like to make things. Now people like to use things. And that's a
Well,
big difference.
Well, you take a look at telescope making, the original 3 volumes, which I could probably pull down and show you. It showed a lot of people that were building the telescopes in like the teens,
1920.
especially in the 20s, in Inglis. You had people that did not have high-paying jobs. You actually had a lot of women that actually built telescopes. They're 6-inch telescopes, f8, and those telescopes were a lot easier to build. And they just used scrap items. There was a couple where it was just nothing more than a board with a mirror on one end and a small mirror and a stock and sort of a hole that people pushed the eyepiece in and out, and they were happy. So,
The economics has changed dramatically. When
Yeah.
I started out in high school or late junior high school, you could buy a whole setup from Edmund Scientific for less than $100. I mean, that was your mirror, your tool, all your grinding equipment, everything. And I think it was on the order of $60, if that.
well,
Now
I
you can't get
remember-
a single plate for, a Pyrex or the equivalent of a Pyrex 8-inch mirror. It's expensive.
it's uneconomics to buy the components to grind and finish a mirror now compared to buying a mirror. I mean, from China or some other place where they'll take plate glass and you'll be able to get it for $100 or $200. I mean, my gosh, look at the price we pay for cerium oxide. We go buy 5 pounds and we have 5 people that throw in what, $25? Yep, I got those.
I got these books from that Douglas Telescopes guy who passed away in his garage.
Mm.
And that's some of the books that we were willing to pass on some point. So maybe give myself, try to offer them to the club members or
Mhm.
whatever.
I mean, there's some good information, but there's some other information that's a little, I wouldn't say dated, it's just that it's specialized, like making, oh,
Mhm.
Thompson. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now Thomson, the mathematics he uses simply is erroneous. So
Oh.
another guy and I went through it and we tried to figure it out, and he just makes some math errors and assumes things, and it doesn't follow. But he's close
Okay.
enough.
Well,
There
you
is
know, yeah.
ATM books from Scientific American. There's things in there that were speculated that are also wrong now. There's saying things that they say don't do them, and we do them all the time now, and they work better. Such as having the tool on top.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's, oh, yeah, I got rid of those when I moved. Oh, jeez. And I have Star Companion. I've got 2 of those by Overholt.
Uh-huh.
And I've got the webs.
I use Textru for mine. That
I've
was
got
a nice one.
Texer. I got 2 versions of Texeru, the 2nd edition, and I have one that's cost me 95 cents or something
Oh.
like that.
No Norton Star Atlases?
Oh, I got 2. Oh, second. Where is my? Let me show you the original.
Oh yeah, Sam Brown did a series of books on that. Those were absolutely excellent.
Oh,
Pamphlets like things on that. Yeah, he was great.
Oh,
oh, I got that. Okay, hold a second here. Where did I put my?
This is a picture from January 11th, 1986 that Matthew Hall took that Douglas had a copy of. Probably, is that Halley's Comet, 1986, January
that's
11th?
probably about right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got this from somebody who,
Yeah.
being in a trilogy, 55 and older, this stuff gets given away on a regular basis. I'm trying to find my original Tesseru book.
It's a
If I
fancy thing
remember
here.
those guys. Yeah.
It's in
Now you
German. I
just-
can't read it.
You just go online now.
It says star map upside down.
That's a scale line. Star Atlas.
Yeah, Stern Clark Star Atlas. Oh, I see the bookworms got to it.
Yeah. There's a good bookworm. Let's see, what is that diagram? Who knows how to use it, I guess. Oops. I was trying to document all these things I got from him. Mars, 1988.
Wow. Yeah.
Quarter of a second, 16.5-inch Cassegrain. Wow. 12.4 eyepiece, 655 magnification.
Let's see the picture. Oh, that's not bad.
That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
For film.
Yeah,
well, that'd be Phil.
yeah. 1988.
That was a close encounter. I think it was pretty close then.
The best
Still
encounter
had
I ever saw was 1956.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Of 1984.
A lot of stuff there.
He had a big old heavy rangefinder in the garage. It's way too big and heavy. It used to work with the military, I guess. Douglas Telescopics.
Well, there
Yeah,
was,
I got-
after World War II, there was a lot of war surplus optics around, and the optic was
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
I had an aerial camera reconnaissance Aero Tessar lens, a 4-inch diameter f6 that I did a lot of star field photography with.
Yeah, Edmund Scientific Optical Bench, that's really great stuff. That I really liked the Mag 5 Star Atlas. It was a really good simplified.
Getting in some stuff here. All right, let's get out of here. So stop share. So I got to ask Ed, did you say you had a question that you wanted to bring up?
Just to kill time, but I don't know if I should show you. This isn't good. This is just on my iPhone or my cell phone. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. Where is that? Oh, I'm not on there. Wait a minute. You can't see it at all.
Pleiades.
Huh?
The Pleiades.
No, it was M57
Oh,
Ring Nebula.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, now I put a 2X Barlow in here. It was like the first shot and only shot I got since the weather even got worse than what it was. I have a 3X and a 4X.
So did you have a holder for your cell phone on your 14.5-inch telescope?
Yeah, it tracks very well.
That's good. You have a Celestron CGX-L, right?
Correct. I don't have the auto drive, that is with the servo loop, working yet. I haven't tried to do it. I just managed to get everything working. I had issues with the camera. I couldn't get the camera to work properly, and now I have. And before, there was a time I couldn't get a picture longer than 2 seconds. It would automatically turn off. So at any rate, that was a 60-second exposure, 1 minute. And I look forward to it.
Ed, you could send that to me, email it,
Oh, okay. I'll do that.
or you can do it, set in the webmaster at sbau.org. It'd be easy.
Yeah, you're on the email thing list there. I could send it right to you.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else I want to mention? So you had a CGX that you plugged the wrong thing into, and that screwed up electronics on. So you got to get that fixed. Send that into Celestron, or get the board fixed.
They don't make it anymore, and I don't think they would fix the board. However, I know there's a place in Goleta, I believe, or Santa Barbara, that they will fix circuit boards. There was a guy that used to go to the coffee shop, and he worked at the place, but I don't know where the place was or what the name is, or I don't have any info on it.
Is that the electronics place at the airport?
No, I don't think so. If you're talking about the store there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that
They-
store
they-
called?
Santa Barbara Electric.
Is it
used to
Santa
be
Barbara?
Marvac, it used to be Marvac Engineering.
Santa Barbara Electronic Supply.
Right.
Okay.
Santa Barbara Electronic Supply.
And they're moving this weekend. They're going into downtown Goleta, the place that was the old Kawasaki storefront on Hollister on the mountainside.
Wow.
Well, he's the building he's in is owned. The whole airport stuff is all owned by the city, and they're not a very pleasant landlord. They just decided that, well, we're not going to rent that anymore. And they told him many months ago that he had to leave. And so they extended it bit by bit by bit, but finally it's come down to the wire that he's found a place and he has to leave.
That airport
So,
usually had some pretty low rents there for people.
That's why he's there. That made it. That's how come he could do business. I mean, his place was you can't see it from the street, I mean, you can see the SBES in the window, and you can see his open sign. But if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there.
But nobody knows of the place where the guy runs that works strictly on circuit boards. That's what he does
No.
for business.
Don't know
I
a
mean,
guy like that.
he finds the bad parts and replaces them, or he repairs the boards. What does he do?
He repairs the boards. And it's
Like,
very
They
difficult.
burn
when
up, and he replaces burn traces, or he puts new parts on them.
I don't know, but you got a lot of layers in some of those boards. It's
yeah.
incomprehensible to me that you could actually fix it in any way. I don't know.
Angela Bates has a Meade mount. I forgot what it is. That it was failing. The MOSFET transistors were getting blown out, and there is a gremlin in the software. You know, it's an 8 switch. There's 4 transistors that either one pair or the other pair turn on, and you can then modulate the current and direction through the motors. And there was a gremlin in there which would cause all 4 of them to turn on together, which would simply short the power to ground. And even though they're hefty transistors with, I forgot what the current capability was, they don't have the heat dissipation capability, and they blow out. That's it, gonzo. So I fixed it for her once, and then needless to say, it blew out the FETs, and I replaced them again. Well, last time it happened, I put a light bulb, a 12-volt light bulb, a tail light bulb, in series with a power supply in a box. You couldn't even see it. So that when the when the electronics would short out, the light bulb would turn on, limit the current, the voltage on the mount would go to 0, it would reset, start all over again, and nothing was damaged.
Oh, you're basically forcing a crowbar, right? On the power supply? Is that what you're doing, or?
Well, it crowbarred. That's it. I mean, that is what it did. I didn't force it. That was built into the
Into the
software.
power supply, but you're doing it with the light. Okay, gotcha.
I say, well, you know, a light bulb is a very good current limiter.
That's a good idea.
I mean, when it's cold, the filament's cold, it's very low impedance, and when you try to pull current through it, it just heats up and limits the current.
Right. That's a good idea.
So this says Alta Via Technologies, 510 State Street, Suite 225. 50 years in business, Alta Via Printed Circuit Board Design Service Bureau. But it sounds like they really want to make boards for you, not redo them.
Yeah.
And then there's a Reliable Technical Sales Incorporated of Santa Barbara. Probably just reselling stuff. Simi Valley, Chatsworth. Probably most of these. Oh, here's Circuit Board Assembly Repairs in Chatsworth. A little bit farther down. I would think though, Celestron would be able to find a board for that CGX, because CGX is not that old of a drive. Ed, I would think they'd be.
They told me no, they don't make it anymore.
Weird. That's not good. I have a CGX unit myself. And that, God,
You're on your own now.
That's
Wow.
right. There's the controllers are available, and I just happened, I was looking for something else and there's some people that actually have the old controllers for sale, so you might be able to get
Oh, you're
hold
talking-
of them.
Are you talking about the hand controller or the boards inside the mount?
One or the other. Hand controllers, definitely.
Yeah.
I just Googled printed circuit board repair. And one of the things that came up here was PSI Repair Services, Inc. And they, PSI is the industry expert for printed circuit board repairs, modifications, upgrades, and manufacturing services. So maybe they could, if they're talking about repairs.
Where are they located?
I'm trying to find that out. I got to roll it down here.
Ed, how did you hook it up incorrectly? Did you put in a connector backwards, or?
There's 8-pin into a 6-pin port, right?
Yeah, 8-pin into, I mean, 8 pins into a 6 point.
6 pins,
Oh,
Six
they're in
pin
Livonia,
port.
Michigan. Forget it.
So it took a hammer to get them in.
And they can slip together. Sometimes those ports are wide enough to take.
Oh,
the-
yeah, they use the telephone jacks, right?
yeah, and they're the same, aren't they?
Well, you could probably put the 6 pin into the 8 pin jack.
Yeah,
Yeah, just won't make connection.
but
Yeah,
not the
but-
other way around.
Now, there's the possibility that if you take it apart, well, see, I'm sure that somebody, if they took a look at it, a lot of times, if it's, well, first of all, does it come up at all? Does the red light show up? When you connect up the power, does anything happen with the control? Or does it
I
blow
didn't-
fuse?
I didn't see anything happen. I mean, it was dead right then. As soon as I plugged it in, it killed it.
Okay, but, okay, so when you plugged it in properly, what happened? Did you see like an LED light or something like that?
Smoke.
No,
Ozone smell.
nothing. It just dead.
Okay,
I don't understand the question.
oh, because a lot of times if you plug in the wrong thing, it's like plugging, I had this happen to one unit where a USB connections fried, okay, and on the board, there's usually a little translator chip that's designed to interface between the USB and the microprocessor. So it's possible.
Uh-oh.
It's possible that if you gave it to somebody that knew a little bit about electronics, taking it open, you'd be able to see, one, if there's anything burnt, two, figure out the different connectors to see if possibly a jelly bean type of part can be replaced on those two connectors. Because a lot of times, like for the motors, they usually use a motor driver chip that's usually easily available, like the ULA 2000 or some other thing like that. And you might be able to just replace it that way, or somebody being able to poke around to see if you got 5 volts on the chip, because most of them operate off of 5 volts, to see if your power supply is good. You might be able to have somebody fix it that way if they knew how. This is the type of troubleshooting that Celestron does not want to do, because they don't have any technicians. They basically buy things from overseas or whoever, and they put it together and they ship it. They don't build it. They rack and stack, so to speak. And they don't have anybody that's able to think in terms of electrons. Okay, they might have mechanical people or other people that are good at putting things together and optical testing to make sure that it works reasonably well. But the electronics, no.
I did go through a couple of diagnostics with Celestron,
Oh,
and
okay.
in the end, they concluded that basically I fried it.
It's a little bit okay.
You know, I kind of assumed that, okay, one of those pins had voltage on it higher than what it should have and went in the wrong socket.
Yeah. Well,
Do you
you
have service literature for it, like a schematic?
Not a detailed schematic, no.
no, but I bet you what it is. Okay, knowing them, it's a pick part for the processor, and they've because I've looked at a couple of. I had a controller that went out, and I was going to go try and fix it, and it was so old that you couldn't program it. but you might be able to replace some of the jelly bean parts, or at least plug it in and see if you got some sort of nominal voltage. Now, usually you have the controller, and then you have what they call the electronic boards inside the mount itself that converts to 12 volts for your battery and has the motor drivers and all that. So yeah. Oh, you got it right there.
Well, this looks like a CGX-L, so it's almost the same. It's just, but here they're showing the power coming in and the attachment for your hand controller, and then there's a couple ports for
Yes.
UCSB auto guider and USB. Here's a typical circuit board.
Yeah, so the big
I-
chip is like a microprocessor, and you notice the jelly bean stuff down below. Yeah.
What is jelly bean? This stuff?
Well, the jelly bean is sort of like easy to get, simple stuff.
Cheap.
It's
Yeah.
cheap, and usually you can get them for a long time as far as time frame. The big, more complex chips tend to come and go, and you're out of luck.
I bet those driver chips are right down there by the connectors. I bet
Yeah.
that's probably pretty much what you got right there.
Yeah, so, but the thing is that most of this operates off of either 3 volts or 5 volts, and your motor works off of 12 volts. And so being able to see if you can get any type of voltage is, as long as you got 5 volts there, you're likely to be able to fix it, because most of the small parts there, they have a longevity much more than the other stuff.
I did find the website or one of the talk programs where a guy had a problem with his CGE mount, and he managed to fix it, and he displayed what he did, you know, with the circuit board and everything in quite detail.
Mhm.
But that
Yeah,
was a couple years ago.
usually it's a simple, well, it might be that those are servo drivers. Okay, and if that's the case, they have what is known as a H bridge that drives the motor. It applies voltage, and it reverses polarity with direction, and then it chops the voltage for speed. And if somebody had an oscilloscope, they could probably see if anything works on it. But you know, you're out of less money than a couple other people on the SciTech website. Somebody had a software BISC mount, a slightly older mount, and he was out like $5,000 to cost him to go and fix the mount or something like that. Some large, and he was asking, well, hey, can I use your SciTech controller to go and operate my mount? And the answer was no, because your motors operate off of, I guess, 36 volts or 48 volts, whereas the SciTech's rated for 24. So he would have had to somehow replace the motors and fit them in there mechanically, which is not an easy thing to do. So, but there are people that have taken like a SciTech, which is kind of expensive. We're talking about $500, and if it's a servo type motor, not a stepper, and fixing them that way, but it's not cheap and it's not necessarily easy.
Mike, how do you spell SciTech?
Okay, go to Sidereal Technology.
Oh, yeah. Stereo.
That's what the MISO operates off of in a a few other mounts and a lot of I think that's what CDK mounts operate off of too. There you go. And people have upgraded, let's say, Los Mandy mounts, and I know other people have, like, CGEMs and stuff like that have taken this, but it's not for the faint of heart, because you have to know that it's a servo motor, and you have to know the gear ratios and the optical encoder ratios so that things come out right, because you're telling it how fast to go. Yeah. That's the number 2. He wouldn't need a number 2. He'd get away with a number 1, which is about half the price. But, you know, I would try and get the original equipment, because there is no hand control for this. This is strictly computer control. But a lot of people have done it. I mean, yeah, LX200, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So you can somehow use the SciTech equipment with a Mead.
All you need is a servo system with encoders on the motors, so you can count the ticks, so you know what the rotation is, and it'll either do it aldazimuth like this or equatorial. Oh, that's a big scope.
16-inch. Oof.
Yeah. But people have converted Mathis mounts, and there was a brand of mount that really made a really nice German equatorial mount, and fork mount that's no longer in business, but they originally used Los Mandy parts and SciTech. That a lot of people converted to SciTech.
Wow.
You know, but again, Ed, you have to be able to poke around. You got a voltmeter?
Yes,
Ed, you
Okay.
used to be electrical engineer, didn't you?
no. Physics, optics,
Hmm.
and EMP.
Oh, no.
Well, one of you guys are electronic engineer there.
Bruce
Don't
is
raise up your
everything.
hand. Bruce.
Yeah, I'm an electrical engineer. I was going to say, I could probably take a look at your mount. You know, and the one of the things, you know, all of my mounts are made by Orion, and they're all stepper motors, which has a big advantage, because if you stall them, they make a horrible noise, but that's all. It doesn't hurt anything. You don't
Yeah.
blow parts out. You don't. Whereas with the DC motors, they if they stall, for some reason they get locked up, and the electronics design isn't smart enough to go into some sort of current limiting. You
Well,
blow things out.
Well, I
Just
think the
boom.
thing with the ladies thing was they didn't have shoot through circuitry on the controller, which that was a software timing, and most of the quality mounts employ drivers that have that, where it's as simple as putting a doggone reset flip-flop where you can't get both of the outputs on at the same time. It's a very simple thing to do, but you know, a lot of people try and, you know, cheap things out by taking a part out, months in it, you might say, and that's how you get those unreliable servos. I mean, you know, like with the SciTech, they know they measure the current and they limit it And most of the, actually, a lot of the mounts used to use LM298s, which was a motor driver, an H-bridge by National Semiconductor, that actually had a current control on there, so it was limited. But those cost like $3, and people try and get away with $1.50. So. So Jerry, you said you were going to have some topics to talk about, or?
I didn't say that,
Oh, no. Oh, okay. Okay, I guess I was wrong.
but I can come up with one. If you looked at the newsletter that Colin just sent out, there's a paragraph in there by me where I wrote down the procedure I use for setting up a telescope
Right.
or imaging at a remote site, because it gets me going very efficiently. From having no telescope on the ground to having one set up that's counterweighted, balanced, and aligned with the North Pole, and then taking pictures. So you can read that. What's his name? Hank Elling took note of the fact that I use 3 deep cycle batteries, one for the laptop, one for the equipment on the telescope, like cameras and rotators and stuff and focuser, and then another one for the mount for driving, slewing, and guiding, or not guiding, but moving motors. And he said that was overkill, which it is, but it's reliable and it's convenient. And if I have to go several nights without recharging, that gets me through it. So I don't have to worry about running one battery down. When the astrophysics mounts that I have, when they slew, they can use over 2 amps at a time. And that's a big pulse to send through everything else. It scares the laptop. And, so I just like to keep them on separate circuits.
What AP mount do you have?
Well, over the years, I've had several. Right now I have an AP 900 and an AP 1600.
Oh,
And
wow, it's a
I
biggie.
used to have a 1200, but I sold it and bought the 1600. So most of my photography has been done with either a 900 or a 1200.
What is the mount that you have that uses the Orion controller?
That's the mount that I just used for outreach, because it's light and set up. It's a Vicon GPDX, and it runs on the Orion controller, like you say, and with the Orion motors. But I found that's a very fragile system. It has to be shut down in the right order. And I don't do that. Every now and then I trip over a wire, a power wire, and the whole thing just winds down. Boom. And so I have to find it and hook it back up and get everything in the off switch and start it back up. And a couple of times it scrambled the brain and the electronics. And so it won't polar align. And if you polar align it and then you go to operation, it goes to some crazy thing. So it's like got its little brain scrambled in there. And one of them,
Go ahead. I don't get that kind of problem with my Orion mounts, but I do get a thing where I'll, like, in fact, that happened last Saturday when I was up viewing up on the mountains. I go through alignment procedure, the polar alignment, all that other stuff, and it's way off. It doesn't quite go to where I want it to go, and I'll go back and realign. And finally, I go into the menu and I reset the factory settings. And that clears out all the little correction factors that it has. And then I proceed to do the alignment, and bingo, it works just fine.
Huh. Okay, that's a trick I haven't tried. I'll give that a try. So go back and reset the settings.
Go set the factory settings.
Yeah.
It remembers a whole lot of things. If you do a
Yes.
3-star alignment, it knows what the cone error is in your scope, and it remembers it. But if you are like me, where I go and transport the scope all over the place and set up, first of all, it's in a different location.
Right.
And so it remembered all kinds of stuff from the last location I was at, which may or
That
may
don't
not be.
apply.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be the
So,
problem. Could
yeah.
be my brain scrambled, not it. I'll try it.
I do a single star alignment, but I always make sure that the star is close to where I'm going to be shooting.
Okay.
What kind of batteries do you use, Jerry?
I use a deep cycle marine battery that I buy from Costco for about $80. It's equivalent of about 50 amp hours. Although they don't list the amp hours on it, there's some other parameter they list.
Cold cranking amps.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
never
No,
enough.
but you don't.
There
You
it
don't
is.
need 600 cold cranking amps for a mount unless you want
No.
to burn it up.
No.
You need amp hours. And,
Yeah.
and I've got this picture of me
Yeah.
with my cookbook camera. Okay. It's,
Oh, you made one of those.
yes, I still have it.
Okay.
Okay, well, I got something else to show, but my story about, I had one of those deep discharge batteries from Costco. And that was Malpine. It was the only time that I went out with the cookbook camera. And I'm setting things up, and it's light and I'm making sure everything's working. And then it gets dark and then I run out of juice.
Oh, no.
Mhm.
Okay, because the laptops were not very efficient and the cooling on that was like about 45 watts.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay, and also it used not shown as the electric pump, a windshield washer pump. So my I side with Jerry and err on the side of having too much capacity over the night. So anyways, I also have this that I came across,
Uh-huh.
the cookbook camera newsletter.
When's that
Yeah.
dated? 80s, 90s,
1995.
1995.
Okay, I still have my camera. I still have a couple of TC-245 chips that I haven't used. I bought them when they were only like $95. They had gone down from $180, and I was going to go sell them, or I was going to make several cameras, one for auto guiding, one for imaging, and of course it's so expensive and power hungry that I go,
So you're saying that those chips, Mike, are from a camera chips you're talking about?
Texas Instruments, yes.
They're made as a component for cameras. So you
That's
buy
right.
it, it's never been in a camera. You just buy it as an electronic component.
That's right. Yeah, and TI, you could get the information on the chip,
Yeah.
unlike Sony.
Well, what did TI used to do with those cameras? Where did they put those, in webcams?
They
or
were your
or-
they were your surveillance cameras and
It was
regular
one of the
cameras.
first CCDs on the market that people
Yeah.
could afford.
Yeah,
Oh, CCD. Okay.
yeah, and I actually had a couple of TC-211s. The TC-211s was 165 by 192, I believe. And the TC-245 was like 242 by 378 or some other weird number. And I think it had to do with the color matrix or whatever. It was a step up in, for the longest time, actually, it was pretty good. It did better than a lot of the newer cameras, and then they all passed them by. It was relatively low resolution. The camera was very high power. I mean, obviously now
CCD. Yeah.
a webcam is a better solution now. Especially the webcams are more sensitive. The only thing they lack is dynamic range. The old cameras had large pixel sizes, and so their full well capacity was well over 100,000 electrons. However, they probably had a ton of noise that reduced the dynamic range quite a
Right.
bit. But
They were limited like that. At
Yeah.
the other end of the spectrum, about 2000, I had in my lab at SBRC, I had a Fairchild Electronics, the largest CCD ever made. It was 10,000 by 10,000 elements.
Wow.
And it was a limited run. They made about 20 of them. And it was made for the Mars Surveyor, Orbital Surveyor. So it was, it snapped pictures very quickly as it flew over the terrain. It's in orbit around Mars. And NASA bought about half the lot. And then other companies like SBRC, we bought a couple just to play with. Very impressive CCD. Now they make things that big, but they're CMOS.
And they're $100.
Yeah, yeah. This one was very expensive.
I mean, when you take a, when you take a look at the camera that I have is 24 megapixels, 5.7 micron pixel size, 35 millimeters, and virtually every pixel works perfectly. And the camera costs what, $3,600. You gotta know that the less than half of the cost is the chip.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and they're getting sold from, so the cost to make is less than $100 a piece. It's just they're mass produced because the chip that I got in that camera is a Sony camera. Not intended to be cooled down or anything like that. Oh yeah, I've got the books too. I can't find my 95-cent tesseract, but I've got my cookbook camera book.
This is 1999.
Okay, choosing and using a CCD camera and astronomical image processing by Richard Berry. And I don't know the reason why I still have that in. Oh, and I have that book. There we go. Whoops.
Where's Richard Berry located?
Is
Richard Berry
Salem,
Berry
Oregon.
somewhere in Los Angeles area?
No, Salem, Oregon.
Wasn't he, his house burned down in a fire or something?
Yes, Santiam Road, it burned down. Yeah. He's still cleaning up the mess.
Huh.
Wow.
Now, this book a couple of months ago was going for like $600 or something.
Oh, good.
Remember I talked about that? I think William Bell is coming out with it again. So the
I
price
thought
should
William
go
Bell
down.
went out of business.
Oh, excuse me. They're owned by the Astronomical Society that owns Sky and Telescope.
Oh,
So William, a bunch of the titles from William Bell now they should be available now.
okay.
Okay, like star testing and all the other really good ones. Okay, there you go. You have the Dobsonian telescope, star testing. Gee, I can buy my next revision. This is one book that you don't want to get on the Kindle. It's totally lost.
428 pages.
That's right. And a couple months ago, people were trying to charge like $300 or $400, something like that. I showed you that time.
Yeah.
So
I
they're
got
coming
this
out.
book here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is Extragalactical Astronomy and Cosmology is what I got. It's a new book. I think it's kind of going to be slightly over my head. You know, it's got partial differential equations and things like that I haven't had much experience with since college days. But it looks like it might be pretty interesting. So,
Yeah.
Hey, Dick, I got to ask you, what was your background and work? What is your
electronics, but more probably computer science towards the latter part of what I was trying to do. So yeah, I kind of got a mix of things, but more systems than anything else is what we were. You know, we did work for Lockheed, the Stars Chamber. Let's see. We did some of the plating facilities for the original MIRVs that were being made during the Reagan era stuff. That was some of the more interesting jobs we worked on. Centrifuge for UC Berkeley that was based on a rotary table from the oil patch field. This was done at a time when back in the 80s. You know, when they were going through the slumps and so forth with the gas price, they had a big glut in oil. So all of that oil patch equipment was sold for pennies on the dollar. So we went in and got a 1,000-volt DC drive, 1,000-volt motor, and a rotary table for just dirt cheap price to power this centrifuge at UC Davis. So that was a fun project. Machine tool type stuff for machine control, taking let's say a single axis mill and turning it into a 3-axis mill, that kind of stuff.
So Dick, what was your company name?
My company name was Beam Engineering. It was my dad's company. That was where we did most of the interesting jobs. What brought me down here was gas purifiers for semiconductor industry, and then also oil exploration equipment that was made up in Applied Technologies that was applied to downhole well equipment and so forth for both production well stuff and for new well drilling.
Was Schlumberger one of your customers?
Sorry?
Was Schlumberger one of your customers?
Oh yeah, Schlumberger, Halliburton, all of these people. Some of the stuff too, we thought we had agreements on some of the software in perpetuity because we had given them some of the original software, Halliburton, and we got screwed out of that deal because there's no such thing as perpetuity, not in the legal business. So you know, you just can't do it, and so we kind of got screwed out of that stuff. But that was kind of an interesting job there too as well. So I got kind of a mix of things in electronics.
Cool.
I have one thing I could show you.
Okay.
It's all it is. Basically, what I'm doing right now is this. We go show it up. What I've taken 3 frames. These are just individual frames of data on this guy right here. And this is in PixInsight, and I've taken these 3 frames, and this is the heart and the soul. So you can't really see much nebulosity or anything yet, because remember, these are individual frames, so there's been no real data median or averaging done at all. But you can see that up here in this corner is that bright portion nebula of the heart part of the nebula. And you can notice, I was kind of hoping Hank was here because you can see how, okay, this is north-south going left-right, and then up and down is east-west. So basically what I'm doing is keeping a constant north-south alignment and just moving in RA to get all 3 panels, because I got the long axis of the sensor north-south. That's enough to cover the target. You need a longer axes on east-west, so I'm using the short axis of the sensor but linking it up with three frames, or three panels, excuse me. So I went for probably about 30% overlap here. That's about 14 minutes of RA, and then on this last guy, you see the overlap is a little greater. That's about 13 minutes of RA. But notice how notice how you get this precession, and this is holding Dec constant. See, so even just moving the mount to another RA position, you see you've got that gear slot in the encoders, okay? So you're going to get this kind of stuff going on, and it's processional night after night. You're going to see it precess. So I had to, by trial and error, I had to kind of move this panel here on the bottom further north. I almost got it lined up, not quite, but that's going to be a 3-panel mosaic when I'm done with that. And the other thing that I shot was VDB 14 and 15. And they are fairly close to that. They're a little east of where the heart and soul are. They're blue reflection nebula. And I've just started I shot those first. So I'll probably have some results next week I can share with you.
What lens did you shoot us through? Was that your 24 millimeter?
No, that's the NP 127IS.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, because and now I was thinking, you know, for VDB 14 and 15, it would have been probably nice to have 10-inch on there, but I'm physically not capable of putting that instrument on right now with what I got with my back. So I kind of went with the lighter version with the NP 127IS. Mm-hmm. So, and it does a good job. It really does a wonderful job. And now that's filterless too. There's no filtering on that at all because I can't quite figure out how to put a filter in the optical stream yet. So maybe you know, Jerry, I don't know.
There is what is it? You can get a filter that, depending on the size of your camera entrance, you know, 2-inch or something, or 2.5, you can get filters that size that you just screw onto the end of your camera adapter.
Oh, okay.
I did that.
Oh, now you're not talking about a clip-on.
About
No,
what?
you can.
No, it screws into the. If you got thread, yeah.
Well, you know,
Some adapters are threaded so you can put a filter in.
Well, you know, I did that. And the problem is where the filter ended up was not in the right place. Yeah, you know, so what you got right there, excuse me, that's kind of more like what I got.
Okay.
So basically the brighter one, I believe, is 15, and then 14 is this fainter one that's to the right of that. And I got both of those.
Okay.
Let me see if I can bring this up. I'd have to bring a picture site up, but I've got both of those, and I don't have this. The one version I have is probably only 24 frames, and I have more frames that I have available for it, but I just haven't gotten to the point where I could stack everything yet. So let me see if I can get that guy, and I'll come up and see if I can
Show the heart and soul there.
Yeah, the heart and soul is, I think that's going to work out pretty good. That's going to work out pretty good. Yeah.
That's stellarium.
That's pretty. That's so pretty. I think I might, you know, this part that goes down on the heart there, that goes down to a lot further, I probably will get that. That'll get cut off because I don't have enough field of view. So that part right there might get cut a little bit. So I can bring up this guy here and see if I can bring up the project, and I can show you what the VDB guys look like. VDB 14 and 15. And they're not, you know, I think it would have been better in the 10-inch, but I'll see if I can get this up here a little bit. Here, I can show you. And there's really not a lot there that you can actually see in this guy here because I haven't really done any processing. So let me bring that up for you guys here, and you can see what that is looking like here. And the background neutralization hasn't been done, so it's really red. So you can see this is 15 over here. This kind of like bluish nebula, or this nebulosity here. Everything's red because there's no background neutralization at this point. This is just a raw stack of about maybe 25 images. And then this is 14 over here. So the two bright stars right here, the kind of the defining area where you want to be on that guy right there. And that right there is just east of the Heart and Soul Nebula. Probably, I'm going to say maybe half an hour east of that right there.
Yeah, it's pretty close on Stellarium.
Yeah, it's not very far away. And matter of fact, I got to go back out there about 9 o'clock and refocus. So that's going to be the end of me right there. But it's coming along pretty good. And the observatory hasn't gone anywhere. It's still sitting out there. My help was supposed to come Friday. So we're going to try to set the base ring probably Friday if he comes. We'll put that base ring down. And then from there, we can start to put in the supports that they're vertical supports that go around this thing.
Okay,
So it's coming together.
good. Okay, well, I think I'm going to hit the hay. Very interesting tonight.
Yeah, I think I'm getting there myself.
Yeah, it's almost there. So been a good talking with you guys. A lot of
Yeah,
interesting things going on.
see you next week.
I just sent Tom, both you, and to Ed some of the schematics and whatnot that I have of the Meade LXD75, if that makes any sense for what Ed's trying to deal with. And moreover, they used nylon gears in part of the gear train in the servo motors. And when her mount stalled, it wiped out some of the teeth on one of the nylon gears.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
I fixed it. I repaired it. I used a needle point soldering iron. I melted them all back together, and I made the gear again. And it worked.
Wow.
Shoot, I'm coming down there if anything breaks on my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Ed, yeah, we should get together with Bruce, Ed, and check out that CGX mount of yours and see if there's maybe some simple fix. And Bruce has good insight on electronics.
Yeah, I'll see if I can at least pull up a picture of the circuit board or open mine up and take a picture of the circuit board.
That'd be great.
Well, I can show you. I should forward you a picture of the circuit board that's in the motor controller. By the way, when the FETs blew out, it also took out a small TTL chip, an inverter that was used to drive one of the, I forgot the upper or the lower FETs. And so I had to replace FETs and I had to replace the inverter chip. I think it was an AC 08.
Details. All right. I think that's
Okay.
pretty good for now. Let's
Okay,
stay in
we'll see you
touch.
guys.
Thank you,
Hopefully have
guys.
more people next week. Get a couple more folks.
Good night.
Cool.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
I guess see if I can find the box here to say in meeting for all. There it is. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.